Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Help for the Guildless. My name, of course, is Antoine. And with E3 in full swing, with the likes of Microsoft, Bethesda, and Ubisoft gracing us with the games that are going to keep our wallets empty for the next year or so, there is a mire of controversy. Now, this comes from someone who hasn't been in the limelight or the spotlight for quite a while. She decided to rear her ugly head, not because of some grave injustice that was given to her, but because she needs to be in the limelight, because she has her book coming out in September. So let's get her name out there during E3 to get people to think about what's coming. And that, of course, is Zoe Quinn. Zoe Quinn has been trying to bully an independent game developer for criticizing the ideology she supports so much. Now, in an article on Heat Street, Ian Miles Chong does a good job of roasting Zoe Quinn and basically pointing out what a moron she is. There are a couple of things that I do want to point out. So I'm going to go over this article and discuss it, not at length, but give my opinion on a couple of things, like I've done before. So let's get started, shall we? Independent game developer Tim Sorrett revealed his sci-fi video game The Last Night to widespread acclaim and praise Sunday at E3. The biggest gaming event of the year, combining 3D and retro pixel graphics. The game's post-cyberpunk aesthetics impressed gamers and game developers alike, who shared their excitement across social media. And I would be excited too, being an independent game developer and getting picked up by a company like Microsoft. Now, I'm hoping that this game is not just for one platform. I'm hoping it goes over to PS4 as well, but if it is just on the Xbox, I'm going to be sorely disappointed. But not everyone is happy about the attention his game is getting. Leading the brigade to ruin Sorrett's reputation is Zoe Quinn, the queer feminist activist game developer, which is in quotes, and should be in quotes the size of Japan, who once lobbied for the United Nations to censor free speech on the internet to prevent cyber violence. She's only a game developer because she actually created a game, and it's not even a game. Markiplier did something amazing with YouTube and giving links and choices in a choose-your-own-adventure game that has many different outcomes. He got to act in it, he got his friends in on it, and it was entertaining and it was fun. Depression Quest was a singular story that was supposed to be about depression and how to help with depression, except it was none of that. It was uninteresting, boring, and flat out garbage. It was so simplistic that I'm sure 5th graders could do a better job. Now, Zoe Quinn, who was infamous for catalyzing the Gamergate debacle in 2014, I wouldn't say catalyzing. I would say she wasn't the catalyst. She was part of it. But it wasn't her specifically. It was a bunch of things. It was finally having it out in the open that a bunch of games journalists were basically incestuous with each other in deciding who was going to get the better praise for what games. And that was obvious with, of course, the very now infamous 10 Gamers Are Dead articles that all practically said the exact same thing, that all came out on the exact same day. Now, Quinn publicly castigated Sorrett and his project over his decision to stand against progressive ideals and social justice ideology. Sorrett previously made statements critical of feminism and outrage culture and expressed his disdain for identity politics. And as you know, that's all it takes. Because if you're not with them, you're against them. And being against them means that your history, your livelihood, and everything that you ever were and everything you ever said is to be drug out and put on display for a one singular gotcha moment. Now, Sorit once tweeted, "People who blame art and entertainment for society's ills are always on the wrong side of history." And this is very true. It started with movies, then it went on to television, and then it went on to music, and now it's on to games. Are games art? Are they just a toy? This is a debate that has been going on since the video games industry was developed. And you have to understand that with the video games industry being the biggest marketable industry in entertainment, to get games declared as art is kind of important. What Quinn basically said was, the maker of a cyberpunk indie game is totally cool with trying to ruin the life of a cyberpunk game developer. She's neither cyberpunk nor actually a game developer. She's trying to use a term that I don't think she understands, and game developer is it. Everybody understands cyberpunk, it's in its title. She thinks making her text-based choose-your-own-adventure, which isn't really choosing-your-own-adventure game, makes her a game developer. Game developers make games. You create controversy and whine on Twitter. She also goes on to say, if you laid down with MRAs, which I don't know what that has to do with anything, abusive ex-boyfriends, which is hilarious, since she's the one who was quite abusive towards Aaron Joni, to the point where she almost lost a precedent-setting case, and she decided to drop it because, well, if she did lose it, none of the things that she actually did would be considered legal anymore. And then she says, literal Nazis. Literal, because she doesn't know what the word means, and Nazis don't exist anymore. You deserve fleas. And then she goes on to say, just FYI, I am 100% for never letting it go when a developer participated in Gamergate, unless someone actually made amends, but no one has. Now, the whole social justice thing is quite interesting because of what The Last Night actually is about. Sorit, in describing The Last Night several years ago, declared his intention to create a cyberpunk world in which modern feminism won, instead of egalitarianism. And that is a scary, scary thought. Imagine all of the third wave feminists that you have heard about being in control. Sorit continued with, I find it interesting to show the danger of extreme progressivism in the background of the game, the characters, and the story. Finally, we'll have another take on the cyberpunk oppression instead of Big Brother / 1984 / HAL / big companies. What if the surveillance, bullying, and marginalization won't come from the governments, but from the internet? Which is exactly what SJWs are trying to do now. They're trying to govern the internet for what they believe is the moral high ground that they hold. Now, clearly, such a game doesn't jive well with social justice warriors, whose only interest in the video games medium is to promote progressive ideology. And then they're out for blood due to Zoe Quinn's klaxon call, with an avalanche of retweets promoting anger against him. Because if you can't succeed in tearing him down, succeed in destroying his reputation. But gamers who are uninterested in or ignorant of Zoe Quinn's manufactured drama shared their praise for The Last Night instead. Given that Quinn's only real foray into video games was to the creation of a controversial, text-based choose-your-own-adventure story about depression, it's no surprise that she would be upset by the amount of positive attention Sorit's game is receiving. Her jealousy couldn't be more evident. Now, with all of the things that have been going on, Sorit made an apology. He apologized for what he had said, what he had tweeted out 3 years ago. And this is a mistake, because once you give these idiots an inch, they don't just take a mile, they take the whole goddamn thing. They make you pay for it, and continue to bend down on your knees and prostrate yourself in front of the mob of social justice. This game is going to point out exactly what is wrong with social justice. Or it may not, I don't know. From what I've seen of the game, the preview that we got, it looks like it's going to be extremely interesting, extremely fun to play, and the story is going to be interesting. I can only say that because it's 1 minute and 33 seconds. We only have what Sorit said that it's about. Jealousy is one thing, but trying to ruin a man's reputation because you're jealous that his independent game got so much more than yours ever did is very telling. I hope that Microsoft ignores this. If Ubisoft can ignore one of their developers saying that they're okay with pirating Sorit's game and seeding it out there into the marketplace for everyone, if they're okay with that man still having his job, then I hope Microsoft is okay with Sorit's game being out there, because it needs to be out there. Microsoft, Walmart, Target, all of the major corporations need to learn that the vocal, screaming harpies of the minority are not their audience, are not their consumers. They need to understand that the people who are screaming for change and diversity at any cost will not buy your product. As a matter of fact, they'll hold it as a victory and then never even look your way again. I wish they would learn it sooner rather than later, so we don't have to deal with these kinds of forced controversies. Zoe Quinn, I have said before, wants her 15 minutes of fame. We all do, but last time I checked she was at 14 minutes and 30 seconds. And now, because she has dropped so far out of the limelight, she is actually probably about 14 minutes and 50 seconds from being irrelevant again. Because that's exactly what she is. It's easier to destroy than it is to build up. Which is why Zoe Quinn is doing exactly what she's doing. She wants to make everyone else as miserable as she is. But these are just my thoughts on it. I'd love to know yours. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for listening, everyone. This has been Help for the Guildless. My name, once again, is Antoine. You can follow me on Facebook. All the relevant links are down below, along with the link to the Heat Street article. If you liked what I do here, please hit like, share and subscribe. Thank you once again for listening, and have a wonderful evening.